Hey Aprentistas, today I will be talking about your third essay, Justifying an Evaluation. Now, I know that we're still finishing up the profile essay that's coming up this week. Now, hopefully you remember that I really like spreading out the writing process, and I do that so that we can focus on those individual steps. If you want a better product, you want a better anything, you look at the steps and examine each step it takes to get to that endpoint. So yeah, we got a little bit of overlap. Don't let that throw you though. So looking at week 9, just go ahead and pop on the assignment sheet. I'm going to open a new window if I can. It might be too late. Urgh. Okay. Doesn't matter. Justifying an evaluation. For this essay, we're going to be doing something that we do a lot of already, and that is we're going to be evaluating visual media. Now, one of the reasons I picked this kind of essay is that we all have so much experience with it already, right? I mean, anytime we watch anything, we're streaming it on TV, we go to a movie, when it's over, we're immediately talking about, oh, I really like this, or no, this was terrible. And based on those ideas, based on those positions, we then get into a conversation about why we thought it was mostly good or mostly bad, even if it was like 51% good or 51% bad. So I'm going to walk you through how that's going to work for this. Now notice you've got your due dates coming in, including your thesis next Wednesday, but we're going to get to that. That'll be really easy for us to figure out. I'm going to give you a skeleton for it as well. And your purpose here is to write a 4-page essay that justifies your evaluation of the documentary that you have watched. And it's called the Latino-Americans. And it's a great PBS series. And all you got to do is click here on the link, open it in a new tab. It's going to take you to the library login page. You put in your Chaffey ID, first 2 initials right here. Your initial password is going to be your 6-digit birth date, and you'll be required to change that password as soon as you get in. Not a big deal. You got any trouble with this, let me know, or contact the librarians through the library homepage, and they can help you too. So as soon as you log in, boom, it's going to take you right to the video link. And if you notice, there are 6 episodes. They're all really, really good. I know that, it would be hard for me to justify having you guys watch, 6 full hours of it. Although I do recommend you watch it on your own time. But instead, we'll be focusing on the 2 most recent, Prejudice and Pride and Peril and Promise. Notice those ones have alliterations going on. I don't know why. But if you notice, these 2, they are basically covering like the last 60 years. So it's going to cover, your life in the U.S. and, your parents' life. Your parents may have been born in the 60s or 70s, somewhere around there, maybe even the 80s. Would that work? Maybe not. 80, 20, 80, 40? Yeah, that could work. So these are the most relevant. It's really easy. Just click play. You can make it as big or as small as you want. I totally recommend you watch it with a friend or a family member. Pause it every now and then just so you can talk about it, because there's a lot to discuss here. And let's face it, this is a massive gap in most Americans' education. Immigration is what made the United States of America. It's what continues to make it. But sometimes we just don't get that full story of the diverse kinds of Americans that have come here and made America their home. So it's awesome. It's really, really good. Now, other things I need to tell you about. Yeah, you can assume that your audience has watched the documentary. And the tone should be formal and professional. Now, remember, because it's an evaluation and you're arguing for a point of view, if If it's mostly good, you're going to talk about why certain elements are so good. If it's mostly bad, you're going to talk about why certain elements make the whole thing mostly bad. Sometimes people get a little distracted or they're a little shy to commit, so they just summarize. A summary is not an evaluation. A summary is just saying, these are the main ideas. This is what the video is saying. This is what the documentary is presenting as information. Now you gotta evaluate, you gotta judge, just like you're coming out of a movie. You know, when you come out of a movie and you say something like, well, the Avengers end up defeating Thanos and everything is kind of okay in the end. That's a summary, right? If you come out of Avengers Endgame and say, this movie isn't very good because I thought it was too long and the big battle scene didn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would two big armies, you know, with all this advanced tech just run at each other in a field? It doesn't make, you know, then you're engaging in evaluation. And I'm going to be super honest. I like this video. I think it's really informative, but I don't care if you love it or you hate it or anywhere in between. You know, I hope you get something positive out of it, but saying that you really like it or really hate it doesn't really affect your grade at all. Okay? There's no such thing as a correct or incorrect evaluation. There's only a well-supported evaluation and a poorly supported evaluation. So keep that in mind. So, what are some of the elements you should be looking at? The information, the textual sources, archival documents, periodicals, journals, etc. Visual sources, you know, the photos, the film, the clips, human sources, such as interviews and eyewitnesses, dramatic sources. Sometimes documentaries recreate certain scenes for effect. The audio sources, like historical music, historical sound, the themes, the large ideas, you know. Immigration is going to be a large theme here. The idea of family is going to be a large theme here, probably. The idea of the American dream or improving your life, improving life for your family is going to be a theme. The tone, which is like the mental or emotional dimension of this particular piece, you know, is it where did I go? That's my place here. Serious, humorous, inspirational. All kinds of good and bad words fit there. Camera work, visual style, script, narration style, sets. All of those can be worked in. Nobody's going to put all 14 pieces in. Not in a 4-page essay. I don't expect you to. So I expect you to just use the ones that affect you the most. So you've got choices to make. I'm not expecting anybody to be like a professional expert in films or a professional expert in documentaries. In fact, for some of you, this might be a pretty new kind of film or visual media for you. Maybe, you know, you prefer fiction, you prefer action stories or rom-coms or whatever. That's totally fine. But, you know, I mean, visual information that is nonfiction is becoming more and more common in school and especially at the college level. So it's important for us to be somewhat familiar with how this stuff works and how it's different from something that is fictional. And here's some really important features for good evaluation. Presents the film clearly, it mentions it by name. It asserts a judgment. In other words, it's not doing just summary. It tries to establish credibility with the readers by convincing them that the judgment is based on the knowledge of the particular film as well as knowledge of films in general. So you got to put forward that you've got knowledge about that particular documentary that you've watched. It's clear that you understood it. And if it reminds you of other documentaries or other books or other nonfiction accounts you know about Latino-Americans, that helps establish your credibility. It's going to make reasons for its judgment clear and provide support and make the reasons available. That's also super important. In other words, if you like it, you're going to talk about specific things. I thought the information, the human sources and the interviews were really compelling and drew me into their stories. If you didn't like it, you might say something about the tone. Maybe you thought the tone was too unemotional or flat. There are lots of different ways you can go on that. But it's important to make those reasons clear. I mean, you probably all have that friend where, you get out of a movie and you're walking back to the car or whatever, and that this person says, "Oh, I hated that movie," and and you say, "Well, why'd you hate it so much?" "I hated it because it sucks." Well, that is not appropriate support. That is not valid support at all, right? That's just a circular argument. "I didn't like it because it sucks." No. If you said, "I didn't like it because I thought it went on too long, and I thought the music was too loud, and I thought the acting was terrible in this particular scene," then that person's getting somewhere. 5, it's also anticipating other readers' possible judgments and likely questions and objections to your argument. In other words, if you liked this, you've got to anticipate why some people wouldn't like it. And that's fair. You got to be able to reach out to people that might have a different perspective than you. Totally normal, totally natural. And finally, it requires the writer and readers to look critically at their own underlying values as well as others. In other words, a good evaluation of practically anything makes people think about things bigger than the thing that's being evaluated. So if you're watching a movie about, well, shoot, let's go back to Endgame. Endgame's a good enough movie. But if you really want to make the evaluation stick, you could say something about it, such as, these people are willing to do anything for each other, and that's what true friendship is about. See, that takeaway idea is bigger than just Endgame. It makes us think about, what does it really mean to be a friend? And, what should a true friend be willing to do for other friends? And you might even disagree on that and say, "Hey, I love my best friend to death, but you know what? I don't know if I'm willing to die for them just so that they continue living on." Maybe that's your angle. Maybe that's how you really feel. Or, I'm using a terrible example here, but you get the point. I mean, there will be things in here that will make you think about larger issues than just the documentary. Ideas about the American dream, ideas about the importance of family, the ideas about perseverance and working hard, ideas about fighting injustice. And all of these are super, super important. And here's our checklist. We'll talk about triact structure coming up. We'll talk about counterarguments and rebuttals as well. We'll talk about making a little works cited page for this as well. Smash cut. Now I'm at the evaluation note sheet page. This is also in week 9. Go ahead and download this. Take notes while you are watching the video. If you've got 2 computers, you could take notes on the computer. You can type it out. You could print it out if you got a printer at home and do it. But it's going to be important for you to actually take notes during it. Write down in quick note form what you liked or didn't like as it occurs to you. That means you've got to stop the video in order to do that. Go ahead and do that. Again, your memory afterwards is going to be too vague and too hazy. Things you don't understand even, go ahead and put them in the appropriate box. Everything is fair game. And again, if you're watching with somebody, you could just stop it every 5 minutes and just talk about what you've seen so far. And sometimes you can get good ideas from bouncing it off somebody else. And again, there's no right or wrong way of evaluating this essay as long as you provide specific support for your opinion on it. That's really the big goal of this essay. And it's right here. Week 9 documentary evaluation note sheet. Again, I hope you enjoyed as much as I do, but if you don't, that's totally fine too. Until I talk to you again, happy viewing, guys.